Diverse thinking to the podcast from a generational aspect.
Change doesn't have to be overwhelming. Once you've made change, your mind knows how to make change.
At any stage of our lives, we are unstoppable. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Unstoppable from Vision One High Performance Group. My name is Lori Moen, and this podcast is for you, a business leader, business owner, someone who may perhaps feel a little bit stuck trying to navigate a critical change, maybe struggling to realize your full potential. That's what this Unstoppable podcast is all about. There are three of us here today with our guest, and each of us bring a different perspective to the conversation generationally. Tyler Bonahoom.
How you doing, Lori?
Good, thanks. Finally, Michelle Bonahoom, the founder of Vision One High Performance Group and author of Unstoppable.
Hi, Lori.
Hi there. You know, Unstoppable is the book that shares the 7 simple steps to get unstuck, make the big change, and unlock your potential. So we're here today and we're excited to have our guest, Bob Kluver. He has an amazing entrepreneurial story to share with us, along with the legacy that he has envisioned for the generations of his family. And on a side note, he's also Michelle's father and Tyler's grandfather. So I'm in the unique position to be on this unstoppable conversation with 3 generations of the family. Welcome, Bob.
Hi.
Now, Bob began his work as a draftsman at Angus Industries, a manufacturer of cabs for the agricultural equipment world. And his journey brought him from draftsman to CEO, president of Angus, creating an amazing entrepreneurial culture. Worked through transitions from the original founder to becoming an ESOP, guided the company's growth from a $10 million company to a $250 million company. Is that right, Bob? $220 million with approximately 1,700 employees, more or less?
At the peak, about 1,200.
Okay, 1,200. And through another transition when it was then sold to Worthington Steel. And that's just the first chapter of his story. Bob, welcome. It's a pleasure, an honor to have you here with us. I tell you, we could spend hours simply hearing of the changes and challenges you experienced and launched with that first chapter of your life. But then there's been a whole additional chapter as you work to bring a family office and legacy to life. So, Bob, you know, when you reflect and when you look at some of the things that you experienced in that first chapter, growing this company and growing Angus and bringing it on an amazing journey, what pops to mind when you reflect back? Is there something that you're like, wow, you know, when I think about it, this was something that transition that we had to go through as a company and it was a struggle?
Probably to go back, you kind of said it already. I worked at the company for 43 years. One of my stories is that when I started, it was just going to be a temporary way to make some money to go back to engineering school. And so I wasn't expecting to work more than a year or so.
Wow. I don't even know. I don't think I knew that.
Wow.
Yeah, so wow. I was there for 43 years after that. And I guess one of the fun parts is that every single year was new and challenging. And one of the big things that I reflect back on is get into something that excites you, you enjoy, then you can stick with it.
Yeah.
You know, when I was learning about, you know, how you started at the company and then moving into a CEO, president, and transforming, it sounds like the culture of Angus Industries. Give a little glimpse into what that was like. You know, that's a ship that you had to move in a different direction.
It evolved over the years. The early years was a couple different ownerships. After about 10 years, we ended up with a individual new owner, and that was the same time I became vice president of sales and engineering. Big part of the culture developed during that 15-year time period with that particular owner, and he sold to an investment company. They asked me to be the president and CEO, and as an ESOP, we continued, I think, the culture that had been developed. It put a different spin on it, and we were owned by an investment company, so now for the first time we had to have a formal board of directors. So it all just kept evolving. There was no magic moment, but as we grew and made some acquisitions and started some additional factories, industries. Each step caused us to have to really think about culture. And for myself personally, I'm very technical oriented, hands-on focused, be in every little decision. And it was a big growing step for me to figure out how to let go, so to speak.
Wow.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you think back, how did you help make that happen? Because that's a shift. That's a mindset shift for a person.
As becoming a young CEO, was able to surround myself with a really good board of directors, really good contacts with senior management that are leading customers, connect with them a lot. And then as we grew, I kept reflecting on my need to back out of the detail, focus on people side, which wasn't my forte. So started to focus on surrounding myself with people that could complement my weaknesses or things that weren't my strengths. At one point, midway through being a CEO, I went back to college and got a master's degree in organizational performance. Allowed me to kind of check the box on all the different aspects of the business that I should be leading and training my people to lead.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was during a time when I think I was starting my consulting firm. So I think we were kind of going through some of it together, weren't we, Dad? Like you were learning similar things. And
Oh, wow.
I remember
Well,
you sharing them with me. It kind of became the foundation of what I do for a living.
Kind of, but with me, it was always evolving. So I had a personal desire always to keep learning and learning new things. So I was always on some outside educational path, not just that degree path. We really worked internally on making that part of our culture with all of our senior managers.
Sure, sure. So, when Argus Industries, as when it was sold to Worthington Steel, that was another big transition for you. And that sounds like, as far as from what I learned from Michelle, tell me a little bit about what you had as far as dreams or thoughts for your family, for this legacy that you were also building.
Well, that was kind of an evolving process as well. So the selling process and the transition to my retirement was a 5-year project. First staging, getting the company in a position and ready and the right economic cycle, and then the selling process itself. And then I stayed on for another couple of years as part of the transition. So it was during those last couple of years, business was sold and I was just in the transition process that we started an equity investment business for the family, and that was just a natural stepping stone. It just felt like the right thing to do.
So, Grandpa, I got a question for you. I know when we spoke before, you talked how you started out in the sales and marketing department before you ended up moving up. When you were in that space of, okay, this might not be my strong suit, connecting with people, what did you do to get the job done, connect with people, and how did you do it in a sense of connecting with your entire huge team?
That was an evolving process throughout my whole career. First, connecting with customers, I had to just make up my mind I was going to put myself out there and go do it. That's a totally different kind of connection from connecting with the employees, especially when there's a lot of them. There wasn't any one big step. As we were growing the business, I was leading people as a sales and marketing, and then the business kept growing. In fact, one of my stories is I was in the position of vice president of sales and engineering for 15 years, and there was no place to go because the owner of the company was the CEO. He challenged me. What I needed to do was to help grow the company. We did that, and so when I became CEO, it was almost just like a continue the process.
What steps did you take to grow the company? How did you do that?
Just constantly working on setting our goals, setting the vision, and working on getting one customer at a time and growing in one more piece of business with each customer, one piece at a time, and then adding more people to support that. And we went through a lot of ups and downs also because had some major recessions that would cut us in half and build it back up again. It was kind of a one step at a time. And then some of our biggest struggles were we'd get too much business and figure out where to get the cash to fund the growth and where to get the facilities to put it and how to get the people and how to get them trained. And obviously that all costs money. And so we'd run out of cash again.
What would you do when you had to go get that cash?
Well, usually we would go to the bank and try and figure out how far we could leverage things. And in the middle of it, we also bought out the investment company. So then it was kind of a different because then we had a mezzanine lender, and the mezzanine lender would step in and really help us.
So you were there, for 43 years. Did you have some people that were with you the whole time? Did you have a long-term team, or was there a lot of change and turnover?
So there were some
Okay.
people that were with all the way, and they were still there when I retired. And of course, the nature of our business and the recessions and cutting back and building back up. Yeah, we had a lot of turnover. One of the things we had to work really, really hard at. And at one stage, we moved the business from Minnesota to South Dakota. So in that transition, there was a lot of new people starting over because a lot of people didn't come with us when we made that move. And then also, a small group of us stayed all the way through, but we were starting brand new factories from scratch in different parts of the country and acquisitions. Few people all the way through, but lots of new people, lots of new training, lots of culture to integrate as we had the new startups.
So I hear a lot of intentionality in a lot of your steps, which I mean,
Yeah.
knowing you as my father, I know you're very intentional. What surprises did you have along the way, and how did you navigate those?
Every year was a brand new challenge. Learning how to go through and make an acquisition, figure out how to integrate, learning how to, instead of having one small management team, now have a management team at each factory, and how to integrate those with a oversight small team that was cross-functional. Kind of one of the insights was didn't just automatically happen. You had to figure out how to get them to play nice together.
Right.
So Michelle, I'm curious, in your years not just growing up, but then transforming yourself into your business and all of the things you observed or maybe heard talked about at the dinner table. How did that transfer to what you're doing now, and seeing the entrepreneurial spirit that your dad had towards this company and trying new things and figuring it out?
I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. Whoa. I'm just so proud of my dad. I mean, I watched him growing up.
Yeah.
If I wanted to spend good time with my dad, I would go to the plant at night. I would hang out with him and I would sit with the machinists and the welders and the cleaning staff. And I really learned a lot about culture. And that's where I gained my love for people and culture. And so when I went to school for international business because I wanted to be like my dad. I worked for the business in summers. I helped them kind of start their new plant in South Dakota. And so I learned a lot of skills early on. Dad would always say, go make your way, go learn outside of here. And we did that. And then when he retired, he came to my brothers and I and said, now that you've all made your way, I'm so proud of you. I want you to take everything that you have learned and come together and let's go do something with this family fund. And that was just so meaningful for me because looking back, everything I had learned was watching my dad. Like I said, I learned about culture, going to work with him at night. I learned about performance management and people management and strengths-based leadership by watching him go through his journey of learning. And then most importantly, as you know, Lori, my biggest passion is legacy and helping one generation of leader transition to the next generation of leader. And so to then have my mom and dad come back and say, now let's create a legacy. Like, I don't want what we did to end in this generation. I want it to continue was such a meaningful part of the journey and has become a big part of the work that we do at Vision One. Lori, as you're our transition planning consultant and we help business leaders make that same change. And so I've just been really grateful of my dad and my mom because my mom was a supporting factor as my dad was working. And I've everything that I do today and help hundreds of leaders with every day
Sure.
has come really from what I've watched my dad build.
My whole career path wouldn't have happened without the home life that we had, particularly Michelle's mother and Tyler's grandmother. She was taking care of the family because I was on the road traveling some years every day of the week and then come home on the weekends and spend Saturday catching up in the office and Sunday family time and Monday head out the road again.
Yeah.
That's
So Lori, I got to tell you now with our family office, she's got
Yeah.
the CEO title, Chief Entertainment Officer, and she makes
that's
sure
wonderful.
we all get along at Thanksgiving dinner and don't
That's
talk business.
that's perfect. Good for her.
Yeah. I just reflected the family and the backing of the family, good people at the team. And most of what we did was decided as the team, the senior management team, all I had to do was a lot of the time just stay out of the way.
Well, that's a good point for leaders and business owners. A lot of our audience is business owners, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's an important lesson to learn as a business owner. How do you get out of the way? I know in my own business, I tend to be the biggest bottleneck for getting things done. In Unstoppable, we talk about being able to fail forward, and a lot of times business owners have a hard time letting people fail. So, what were some of the ways that you allowed people to fail but not have critical failures?
Most of it was reining in myself so that I didn't get in the way. It also meant that when it wasn't working, I had to have the guts to do the hard things, step in and make changes. I can reflect that a number of times I'd have one of my senior managers come in and really lay it on the line. And we purposefully worked on making sure that we didn't have similar personalities in the team.
But, so we work with a lot of situations like that with our clients, and it's the leaders that have humility like you do, and an open door policy, and model that it's okay to have constructive feedback, that build a culture where you can.
Well, we worked on that, but I'm not sure that my managers around me would quite say that we had it. It was always, we were always working on it. It wasn't what I wanted or what I laid out for a goal. It was what we decided as a team we were going to try to do. And then it was my job to hold them accountable to hit the goal.
Yeah. So what you're describing, Dad, at Vision One is what we call kind of a servant leader heart. And I just remember a few years ago when I came out to visit you in Tennessee, and you had Angus had already sold, but they had a 20-year anniversary for that plant, and had invited my dad to come, and we went, and you wouldn't believe the people who came in tears to give him a hug and thank him for coming and thank him for everything that he did. And I think that's just a testament to a leader who grew a company that really cared about results, but ultimately cared about people, and continued to learn and continued to be intentional about driving results and doing it together. And so that was one of my foundational moments in my life, was to watch that moment. I aspire to be a leader that 20 years from now, people come and say, wow, you changed my life.
You're being too kind, Michelle, because
No, I'm not.
one of the parts of me is empathy and the people side. So I had to focus on having people around me that covered for me that way.
It's the importance of having a good team around you. I mean, that's a huge lesson here that I hear you speaking. And another thing too is you don't have to be great at something to get the job done. A lot of people, for me, I see it in school all the time. I'm not good at this subject. I'm not good at this or that. And it translates the same in business. Look at the impact that you've had on people. And you're saying you're not empathetic and all that, and you don't even have that strong suit. Look at the impact you're making on people, right? It's having those people around you at the end of the day to get the job done, your team, your connections.
You guys are making me emotional here. Lots of thoughts going back into lots of remembrances. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I want to turn our question back to the legacy topic, because much of our audience is made up of business owners that are thinking about transitioning their businesses. So Dad, I would love to hear. It's two-part question. Number one, what dreams do you have for my generation and Tyler's generation, and then the ones beyond for our family? And then what advice do you have for each of our generations as we step out and kind of take the baton from you and Mom and step into the future?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is that I wish for you to be happy, have fun at what you're doing, no matter what the challenges are, what goes wrong. Go forward with what you like doing, and it's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be easy, and you're going to have setbacks. But if you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to stick with it. You're going to excel. You're going to make it happen. You can't do that if you're not enjoying what you're doing. You can have enjoyment throughout life, accomplishing your goal to accomplish, and that you're successful at it. And even if you're not, you're strong enough that you can pick up the pieces and start over and have a good life doing it.
Yeah. Wow. And do you have any parting advice for our audience, who is made up of business owners and leaders that are maybe at different stages of your journey?
as probably most of your leaders that you work with would say, is surround yourself with good people, create an atmosphere where they want to do what they're doing. But also, when something just feels like it's not working and not going to work, you got to learn how to pivot, adjust, take a new direction, and then keep going.
Awesome. Wow. I think personally, I just want to say how grateful I am, Dad, for you and for Mom. While Dad was running the business and growing the business, my mom was fostering 36 kids in 6 years after my brothers and I left home. As Dad said, she's a big part of this. And so I just want to let you know I'm so grateful for both of you. The biggest takeaway, I've got so many nuggets. The one that we don't hear often enough is home life is key. Right? Like as business owners and leaders, you need to make sure that you're also partnering with the people that you have at home. And that kind of ties into the second point that you said often, Dad, was, make sure you surround yourself with good people. So not just good people at home, but also surround yourself with good people, advisors, leaders, board members, management team, employees, because then you said it makes your job easy. And then I heard you say, but start with something and stick with something that you're passionate about. And so that's so important because a lot of times we kind of get stuck in a rut and we do things that we don't love. Not that everything is easy, right? But that was very important for me. And then the other thing that I heard was you talked a lot about a lot of intentionality, especially as you transitioned. A lot of business leaders and business owners don't think about that. Lori and I teach often, take 5 to 7 years to plan on transitioning your business. And it sounds like you did that. And that's probably one of the keys to your success with that transition. And so just to kind of remind the business leaders and owners out there that you really need to be intentional. Then I heard you say that it's okay to fail and every year is going to be something new and there's going to be surprises and challenges. But as long as you have a mindset of embracing change and learning, it sounds like you can make it through anything. And so many great nuggets, but those are kind of the big things that I take away that I hope our audience can grab onto and navigate their own critical changes successfully.
So thank you. Thank you, Bob. It's been a pleasure. And I thank everybody for tuning in to this episode of Unstoppable. We hope this episode left you inspired, maybe ready to take that first step to face some challenges, start getting unstuck, and start to make that desired change happen in your life, in your business, in your community. Here at Vision One, we are passionate and we're passionate about helping business leaders, organizations, and communities in effectively navigating critical change, such as growing your business, getting your business ready to exit, to you're getting yourself ready for your next chapter, transitioning to the next generation of leadership. Imagine having a team that's working beside your every step of the way, providing strategic planning, fractional finance resources, fractional operational and HR services, and that it's tailored for you. That's what Vision One High Performance offers. So if you're interested in learning more about how we can help you get unstuck, be unstoppable, and make big changes, let's connect. Maybe through an unstoppable peer group, a retreat, a workshop. I invite you to check in at our website, visiononeperformance.com, and let's start a conversation.